Hello, skis. It is I, your king of scream, the guy who got a new furnace and AC today. A hungry, hungry boy. I and alongside, I'm your host.
Yeah, it's me, the custodian of calamity.
Oh,
Oh, I got a new one out there.
nice.
And I can't think of any more. So yeah, we'll stay up
Dang.
there while we got it good. It's
The
me,
Harvard of Horror,
Ooh, yes,
the Titan of Terror,
Titan of Terror,
the
the
Spookmaster General.
Spookmaster General, the Deacon of Darkness, just a little
Ooh,
bit
I like
lower than
Deacon of
Archduke.
Darkness is
Yeah,
solid.
yeah. All right. Yeah, yeah. Hello, everyone out there who's watching and who will be watching. Welcome to another episode of Spoopy Boys.
So spoopy.
Very
Um,
spoopy.
we were just talking momentarily about how things were going outside of spoopiness.
Mhm.
So I'm glad you had a happy holiday. I'm glad we're able to get together on this beautiful, beautiful Thursday.
It's wonderful.
So, what are we going over tonight? What are we talking about?
I was thinking first off, we'll start talking about it is the season, some Christmas horror. And then maybe whatever we kind of get onto naturally off of that, and then maybe go into just overall like wintry horror and things like that.
Ooh,
Maybe cover some like Dead Snow and maybe touch on The Thing because that's a classic wintry
it is.
seclusion movie. And then on thinking of like on the literature side of things, there's some short stories I might bring up and stuff like that from some of the old classics. I was reading through. It was a companion piece to Scary Stories for me growing up, but it was called Short and Shivery, and it was
Oh,
30 stories. And there's a really awesome one whenever called Loop Guru, and whenever I think of winter horror, that always pops to mind. It's a wonderful story, but yeah, let's dive into that Christmas horror. And my favorite probably would be first and foremost Silent Night, Deadly Night, the first, and it's a wonderful, wonderful film, which is weird to say as it leans a little bit on the exploitation side of things at some moments, but for the life of me, I think it's actually one of the better movies to kind of tackle PTSD in a strange way. To be honest, seeing what Billy goes through. If anyone's not familiar, Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's a kind of historical Christmas slasher from 1984. It features a young man named Billy who is traumatized by watching his parents murdered by a maniac in a Santa suit. And then he and his brother are carted off to a convent and raised by just the most evil, most wicked nun you could ever imagine, whose good idea is to get Billy a job working as a Santa at a toy store.
got that.
It
They
doesn't
got
work
that
out.
immersion therapy going on.
Yeah, it just who'd have thunk it wasn't a good idea. Billy snaps and goes on
Super
just a
Spike.
tear. It's wonderful.
Do
It's wonderful.
you do you
What it
think
do?
do you find Silent Night, Deadly Night to be better than Black Christmas?
Ooh, which version of Black Christmas?
The OG Black
Yeah,
Christmas.
yeah, it's the only good one.
Yeah.
Um, uh, oh gosh, that's a tough one because there's Black Christmas. The way that's structured is so great. You've got all these girls like kind of in the house being attacked, which just and it's being all the ladies in the sorority and stuff like that, it kind of gives you a little bit of like, oh no, what's going to happen to these poor young ladies, can they help themselves kind of a vibe. I don't know. I gotta go probably with a little bit of Silent Night, Deadly Night, just because like you don't often get Billy's such a sympathetic villain, even though he is the villain. And I just for me the whole time I'm watching it, it's just like, oh no, no, it's like more sad than anything seeing this whole thing unfold. And then also you're kind of at least for me, I found myself rooting for him when he like kind of sets his sights on going back to take out the Mother Superior. It's just like, yeah, get her, dude. But yeah, it's
I,
ultimately a tragedy.
I think for me, the thing that kind of hurts Silent Night, Deadly Night for me is what I'm going to put in the comment section
Hmm.
is the sequel. That
Oh,
I will never be able to get out of my head.
yeah.
Garbage
But
Day.
you know what? I love that. I love how much that actor committed to that.
So bad.
It is not a good movie, though. It is
No,
not,
no.
especially when you're like when you fire it up for the first time, especially if you've seen the first one, and you're like, wait a second, wait, this is the
Yeah,
first movie over again for the first half, if not more of this movie. It's
but
wild.
also it's like it's not anywhere near as tense. I think I also like Black Christmas because there's that intensity of it's the colors inside the house.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
so it,
Yeah. It you get more of that claustrophobic sense of
yeah,
things of like you're trapped and you're trapped in there with danger. And that it probably it's one of it's for that type of movie. I'd say the original Black Christmas is one of the best for those. Like when you think of like things like A Stranger Calls and all that. But yeah, like yeah, I there's just yeah something about watching this guy like who's just tried to get it together, just have it all completely crumble and fall apart. I don't know what the maybe it's a kind of a Schadenfreude kind of thing for me, but also there's a healthy dose of sympathy in there for this character. But yeah, no, it is. As soon as you mention the sequels, though, all the magic of that first movie is so undone, and it's it's a shame.
I'm not
Oh.
sure what that means, Super Spike, but yeah. Um, what else you got?
Well, moving on then, I'd say my second favorite for holiday horror would definitely be Krampus. I love that movie.
It's really, really, really good.
Really solid. There's for all the mayhem that's going on, there's kind of a light touch to it, so it's something you could kind of like. I feel it's a move. It's even though it's horror, it's pretty accessible to I'd say almost all ages, except for maybe really young kids. But like it's for the most part pretty bloodless, and everything looks great in it. It gives you that also that sense of I'm trapped. I'm completely trapped, not just in the house, but like the environment itself is closing in on me as that blizzard rolls in, and especially when the daughter goes out into it and gets totally like lost in it and taken away. Um, and then just that version of Krampus is ghastly with like the face hanging off, where you almost get the sense it's like a mask unto itself. It's oh, but I
I
love.
also like this kind of feeling of like this is like an old terror that is, been doing this for a long time, and this
Yeah.
isn't its story. This is just another snow globe for old
Oh
Krampus.
yes, yes, and just that ending too is wonderful. I love that they don't pull the punches and they don't give you that happy ending. You think you're getting it, but then you pull out and they're in Krampus's like lair, and there's all these snow globes just littered throughout, and it's
Now,
all
if I
these
remember right,
people.
don't they have the realization too?
Yes, yeah,
Which I
they
love. Is like they also now know.
because they all sit there, they all think, oh, we got out of it, we're safe, and then I can't remember what it is, but there's something that tips them off that everything is off, and then
Yeah.
the camera pulls out and you get that wonderful effect of like the lens going through like the bubble of the snow globe, and it's just like, oh no, they got
Ah,
especially after the kid
like,
pleads to Krampus like, please, we'll do everything and all that. It's just like, whoa.
yes, you will.
Yeah, so I love it for that. Like it is a dark ending. It's not necessarily what I'd say a brutal ending, as they're
No.
still like they're with each other. Although depending on your family, that could be the most brutal ending of all time for us. But yeah, no, I love that movie. It's wonderfully done. It balances humor really well too. And also for being a Christmas horror, it does have a little sense of coziness too, like the nice warm fire, the grandma doing all her little German cookies and things like that and whatnot. It's nice. Yeah, it's a great movie.
It's definitely a movie too that is it's very like, to me, fits strongly in that theme, that Christmas theme, just more of an old world Christmas theme of don't be a shit.
Yeah.
There's consequences. It's not just presents. You know,
Hmm.
I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah, like how the grandma's very much that connection to the old world, and you get the idea, like, oh yeah, like yeah, there is this ancient history that you can kind of get a palpable sense of, just in how just, you know, the grandma, and that she's just a wonderful character. Like, you get that, like, that, oh, this is my Nona or whatever kind of like sense of her, like, you know, she's this wizened old character who's got that bit of a root to the old ways that, you know, she keeps on trying to let everyone know, you know, keep these close and keep these traditions going, but can't do it. But yeah, it's great. It is not that old, but I consider it already a classic for sure.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree, Super Spike. That figure looks great. I
Mm.
also very much love the Mythic Legions Krampus head they did. If I could find one cheap, I would probably just grab the head to put on a Motu body.
Is that the one where he's got like the long extended tongue kind of and more the traditional goat look? Is that what I'm thinking of?
I believe so.
Yeah.
There's one too without the tongue isn't long that was Mythic Legions put out.
Okay.
So I've got two that I don't know if they are big on anybody else's list, but two that I have found I very much enjoy.
Yeah.
The first is Rare Exports, a Christmas Tale. Rare Exports is a very kind of very, very, very dark comedy in spots. And it's also very, it's not an extremely happy movie.
No.
And boy, it plays with your expectations really hard. Especially when you think you've met Santa, and then you find out what you've actually met. It's pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely, I think some of it is the humor is, I think that movie's from Finland.
It's
the humor
definitely
is there's a different tone and tenor to the humor. I've never seen it dubbed. I've only seen it with subtitles, but there are some scenes in that movie, like when the elves are running through the woods after them, and there's that overhead shot that are fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah, no, it's like it's there are obviously some moments of humor, but that is like even from right off the bat, it's such a foreboding movie, and you feel like everything is so deadly serious about what these guys are doing, even though it's like they're hunting Santa. What? But it works. It's and the way they turn everything and twist it into that like evil version of it is, they nail it so hard. They really do. It's so good. It's
I also am a big fan of Anna and the Apocalypse.
I've never seen that.
I really enjoyed it. Cassandra really enjoyed it as well. First of all, it's a musical, which is entertaining. It's like Zombies at Christmas. And it also has kind of a downer ending for a movie that's a kind of a musical. It's really good though. It's very, very, I don't know. I have a soft spot in my heart for that movie. I would recommend it. It's very fun. It's a horror movie I think you can watch with people who aren't into horror. Like I think Krampus floats that line really well too, where you can like, it might spook kids out, but it's not going to gross them out, or and if they're a little older, it's not going to give them nightmares.
No.
Silent Night, Deadly Night, Black Christmas, those are definitely not for those are slashers through and through.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And and I don't think Rare Exports is a flick that is. I think that's more of a you like horror, you're willing to like put the work in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I definitely yeah. I don't know what else you got. I feel like we're kind of we're I always feel like Christmas horror. There's like two tiers. There's like that really interesting good stuff, and then there's just
Oh yeah, there's so many
crap.
bottom barrel like just trash out there for
Yeah. I
Christmas
mean,
horror.
some of it's so trashy it's good, but some of it's a lot
Yeah.
of it's just trash.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. A lot of them, it's that. There's so many that want to be the classic EC Comics, Tales from the Crypt. What is it? Was it All Through the House? Is that the name of
Yeah,
it? The
yeah.
deranged, which just to mention that is one of the most wonderful Christmas
Wasn't it
horror.
the very first Tales from the Crypt episode?
I think so, and it was I think one of the more popular of the comics and stuff when they first printed it. I know when there's the really old British Tales from the Crypt movie, they did that in
Yep, that
there,
was also yeah.
and but obviously but the quintessential version of that for me is the HBO Tales from the Crypt episode,
Yeah.
which features I can't remember the actor's name, but he's the guy who went on to play Dr. Giggles. And he's the deranged
Oh
Santa.
yeah, he was on LA Law. I can't think of
And
his
LA
name.
Law, yeah.
Where
And
he could not have played a different type of character.
yes, yeah. Yeah, that's a
Also,
one.
another weird one that I don't think most of us think about as a Christmas flick, but
Mhm.
it technically is Deep Red by Argento.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 I guess you. Yeah. 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 It really technically is. There's all those like movies. Or one that someone mentioned to me was that weird like I think it's called like P2, and it takes place in like a parking structure where a woman's getting terrorized, and it's all takes place on Christmas Eve. And I had no like remembrance of that part of it. But yeah, there's all these movies that have these that you could say are because like they have like maybe a tangential like connection to it, if not like the outright like, hey, this is a
Well,
Christmas
Gremlins,
Gremlins. Yeah, yeah, I love Gremlins as a Christmas horror movie. It the first one especially. It's got all those seriously dark tones. Like like Phoebe Cates's monologue about finding her dead dad.
yeah.
Oh, god damn,
I
that's
I
still.
think that yeah, I think that's one of those things because that's Joe Dante, isn't it?
Mhm.
I think Joe Dante does what if for films what Stephen King does in writing. He is able to pack a lot of tangible emotion into characters,
Yeah,
regardless of how long they're on screen, um, and makes them, humanizes them. There's not a character in there that's completely likable or that's completely unlikable. They feel like real people,
yeah,
just in a completely bonkers situation.
yeah. And like probably one of the best ever like kid performances by little Corey Feldman in there too. When he's like interacting with Gizmo,
Yeah,
you think it's a real thing, just the way it's wonderful. What a like
and some absolutely amazing special effects. I mean, they hold up so well.
an 80s PG. Yeah, it
That's the
definitely
thing, though.
is.
You look at like 80s and even 70s like PG, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Jeez."
No, I remember like when the Clash of the Titans remake came out. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to go rewatch the first one." And the first one, I totally forgot there's a scene where a naked woman is burned at the stake and you're like, "Wait, what?" Like this is PG? So it's like,
I
yeah.
think that'd be a good thing to watch some movies that were PG for their time and talk about like and maybe like do a comparison,
Oh yeah, definitely.
because I have a definitive feeling that PG no longer means what it used to mean when we were kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, even I think back in the day, it used to be the rating system used to be G and PG. It was like
Mhm.
everyone can go see this. You might want a parental guide or something before like I think like yeah, then things got like escalated to the point where like okay, we need like R's and stuff like that. I think if I'm not mistaken, like the MASH movie because of how much swearing they used was like the first R, and that was like in '69 maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But even then, after that, they yeah, man, the stuff that they could like kind of push into PG and stuff is yeah, it was wild.
Well, speaking of pushing, and um, where do you stand on French extremist flicks? Because there's one that falls in this Christmas category.
Oh, I might not know about this.
Inside.
I don't know about that one.
So I am not huge on extremist new wave French horror.
Yeah.
It's not really my wheelhouse. There's some great flicks, High Tension or Hot Tension, whatever you want to say it.
Yeah.
That movie's great.
That is legitimately very good.
But like some of the others, I think Martyrs falls in this category as well.
I can't do Martyrs.
It's not really for me, but I have a great deal of appreciation for what it is.
Yeah.
Inside is a Christmas flick. Someone I know pointed that out to me. You talk about Inside. I was like, I haven't seen it. And they're like, So that's another one that I think people would it depends on what your horror tolerance level and interest level is. Because some of those flicks to me, it's a lot like Japanese horror as well.
Yeah.
There's portions of Japanese horror that I'm just like, no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, but no thanks.
Yeah.
There's other parts that I absolutely adore. That I think is just mesmerizing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, House is, even for how nuts that movie is, there's a weird kind of beauty and artistry to it for sure. But then like you can go into something.
Onibaba.
Ooh,
Onibaba is beautiful and it's super intense, black and white. Onibaba is terrifying though when you boil it down to what it is. I think that it depends on where you want to dip your toes in, how far and other.
Yeah. And sometimes like movies along the lines of like say like the really French extreme stuff, like every so often like you can kind of get in the mood for I'm up for something maybe a little more grisly than usual, but so often like they like especially with like things like Martyrs, or even to jump over up to a little few countries over and talk about something like oh gosh, I can't believe what's the super brutal movie that's just kind of gross shock.
Serbian film.
Yes. Like not for me really, but if you want to like just like kind of push yourself, I can understand.
70s Italian cannibal flicks kind of fall in that category.
Oh yeah, we're like we gotta include in every one of these a shot of a real animal getting destroyed. Like, come on, guys. And like, just even like how intense those were for the time, like to the point where it wasn't a cannibal holocaust. Like,
the guy got arrested until he could prove the actors were still alive.
That's so
nuts.
It's so intense.
Kayfabe, brother.
Yeah. I think everything does have their place, and it's really it's up to whoever, and if something skirts the line or crosses it, I think at least then we know where the line of taste is.
I think that's a big thing for fans in general, is like know where your line is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if you find that line, make sure you're firm with that line.
Totally.
Like there's movies where people have been like, oh, let's watch. I've been nope. I don't have no interest in that. It's just not for me. Yeah,
like the new Terrifier. I'm glad it's getting all the success it's getting. Like that's awesome. That such a small indie movie is just raking in the dough. But also at the same time, after seeing the first one, it's like, no, I'm good. I know what this is, and I don't need to see it.
Yeah, I looked at it as like, oh, so it's just the same movie with just different kills.
Yeah,
I'm not that. There's no story to that.
Exactly.
That's why I'm very excited that he, in an interview, he was like, I get it that people are kind of, I could probably do another movie like this, but people are kind of clamoring for like an actual story.
Yeah. And I guess he's built a bit of a mythology into this next one, which I applaud that. And if they can actually if they do a third one, which it seems like they set that up for a third one.
Well, I think
go for it and really build that up. Let me know what's fueling Art the Clown and all this stuff. Like, because I'll even say that guy's performance as that kind of devilish demon mime thing is delightful.
It's mesmerizing.
He's completely expressive. You understand, like, it's a brilliant performance, but it's a very extreme movie. And like, if you get like, especially if you're not a fan of like, and not to say that like the director Damien Leone has like any kind of like misogynistic bent or anything like that, but if you're not a fan of like violence against women, don't watch that movie at all.
It's just a hyper old school style slasher.
Yeah.
If you watch those old school slashers, it's a lot of it is like hunting down girls and murdering
Yes.
them.
Oh yeah. Last House on the Left, or I Spit on Your Grave. You know.
That one's.
Yeah.
I saw that way too young.
Yeah. I I remember I rented Last House on the Left when I was like 11. My dad was like, "You did what?" Like, no,
they let you do that? Yeah.
It was one of those things I like snuck into like out of the video store, and I like popped it in, and like I was like, "This is pretty disturbing." And I was like, I'm not really enjoying this movie. He's like, "What is it?" Is this like Last House? Oh my God, no, what have you done? That kind of reaction. But even then, like, saying as violent as like those kind of movies are towards women, and stuff like that, I will also applaud the prosthetics and all the makeup and all the practical effects that they use to bring that gore to life, because it is exceptionally done. And I hats off to all the people that put their time into bringing that stuff to life, because even though it does go to the point where it does make my stomach like turn a little bit, I applaud you for being able to do that. That's wonderful.
I think that's part of the appeal to it right now too, is the fact that there's such an appreciation for the fact that they've been able to take that and just turn it into it's gory art. It's still art. I mean, I don't have to enjoy the story, so to speak, to not be able to appreciate the fact that what they're doing is incredibly. It takes a lot of talent.
A lot of talent. I mean, and like, just think of like like all the masters that we think of, like Nicotero, Savini, like they all kind of started off doing all this really grungy, bloody, gory stuff that would make like everyone be like, oh, for the most part. But us horror hounds, we're all like, these are our heroes, these are our guys. So yeah, like the movie might not be for me, but completely applaud and respect it, and am appreciative of it being out there.
And it keeps practical effects alive. So it reminds people this is what you can do with practical effects.
And we've strayed so far from that, even into horror nowadays. Like, I cringe when I think of The Thing, sequel, prequel, whatever you want to call it, that thing that God, like, just when you have such a wonderful film like the first Thing movie, that where everything holds up except for maybe some of the stop motion towards the end. And then you watch this the update or whatever, where it's like the prequel story, and they spend all this stuff on the CG, and it looks so sloppy and crude, like to the point where and if you can find this footage out there on YouTube of the first effects house that they had hired, who did and the practical's amazing, and it's just like, what were you thinking, studio? But
producers, that's what it was. The studio, the producers were like, well, it doesn't look fancy, it doesn't look like a Transformers movie.
and then it almost becomes that, because when they start from this, how awful that CG is, you can almost see the seams of it as they like break down into whatever. And it's just
the original alien they had in the end of the movie, that was the jailer alien, it was awesome looking. Instead they went with what they went with. It's a bad movie. It's which is sad, because it was kind of like served up. You couldn't ask for a better, table being set for you. A highly beloved, movie, and well thought of, and you're going to tell the story that basically runs right up to the movie. All you have to do is not fuck it up.
Not make it.
I don't
especially
think
with
it's
the
poorly acted. I don't think it's
no,
poorly directed. It's the special effects ruin that movie.
it does. It takes all the completely all the tension is removed from it, and yeah, like because instead of like this wet, pulpy, visceral thing that the actors are touching, they're interacting with, you see it moving, you see it, it fills that space so completely and so realistically. You're seeing, yeah, it's Transformers. It's you're watching all of a sudden like a video game got jammed into this
Yep.
movie you're trying to watch, and it's just it doesn't work.
It breaches the uncanny valley to a degree that it loses. You start to go, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
this
which
isn't.
is yeah, it's
You
just
lose immersion.
which is a shame because like I think of like that one scene where I can't remember the actor's name, the guy from like None Other Teen Movie and stuff like that. He's the young dashing blonde guy who gets kind of merged. The thing
Mhm.
like merges. I think of like some of the like effects work from like something like Society,
Yeah.
and how they mesh flesh in that, and like you could have done that on such a wonderful level, especially now that practical effects have gone so much further from the 80s.
And I would assume cheaper.
Yeah, oh, probably. I mean, just it's like for the man hours and money that goes into in the budgets, how they balloon from these CG effects houses and stuff like that. And it boggles me sometimes that studios want to go for that over, you know, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it seems like it takes more man hours, and the product is just always doesn't look. I don't know. It seems like you can point more at CG than practical, and be like, ah, I see something wrong there. I see something wrong there. Because also, I think a good thing that when you're using practical effects, you're very conscious of is how to light it and
Yeah.
how to hide, because you know your limitations, so you're going to be able to hide them. While sometimes with those big like you know, whatever, it's just going to be blocked right there on the screen, so it might not blend well with the right lighting, and you might be able to see, oh, look at that, there's a dead pixel, or look how that thing doesn't move right, or
Look
it
how that
doesn't
looks like it's
interact.
something I did in Photoshop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just is just right there, like, okay, yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that that really has become like such the reliance now within the industry
And
for
I do
effects.
think it's I put it less on directors and screenwriters. I put it far more on film companies.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'd feel it more so. It's the studio saying, "Oh, we want this to look like movie X, Y, or Z. So let's get this big thing, or we need our big whatever moment, or this is going to be the
I also think they can
yeah."
control it more in editing. So they're like, oh, well, you don't have to do it on set. And then we get the dailies after and go, well, that's not what we wanted.
Hmm.
Instead, it's, they're able to set in that editing bay when it's being input and they can say, well, the director says this, it's
Yeah.
our money.
Yeah,
We want this.
well, we want that shot right there, and we need it. So yeah,
Uh,
it's gonna go there, or we need that scene now. And it's like, well, it doesn't really work, or but whatever. Yeah, it's a mess, and I don't know. You really, yeah, like you can totally. There really isn't much room now for the auteur director as there used to be. It's so much more like this homogenized vision. So yeah, again, it is refreshing when you, even though it's not really my cup of gore, when you do get something that is a wholly realized vision like Terrifier. That is
yeah.
that guy's
Yep.
from bottom to top, like all over. That's his stamp on it, and it works. It's better for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I think it also was able to give a certain audience what they wanted
Yes,
that they
definitely.
hadn't been getting. So they were able to get that. I'm always happy when you have a group that can, had that itch scratched. And
Yeah,
I don't have to like what you like. But I don't need, and I'm not going to try to yuck your yum. I
yeah.
can tell you if I don't like something, but I'm not going to tell you you shouldn't like it.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely, and yeah, yeah. It might not be mine, but if it's yours, go for it. I'm happy. Like they're making a new Saw movie and Jigsaw's coming back. It's like, all right, if you're excited for it, I'm happy for you. But yeah, maybe not my thing, but all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I'm not a torture porn guy.
Yeah, and you know, I've even kind of had to re-examine my kind of, because like, you know, I think we the last episode we kind of touched on that stuff a little bit, and I went back and rewatched the Hostel movies, guys. I used to have a really big soft spot for them, and now it's just kind of like, oh, huh, okay, really? Did I really like this? And also kind of just re-examine as a whole my what I used to be an affection for Eli Roth, and now I'm like, oh, okay, he's good in Inglorious Bastards, but I don't, yeah, no. And then just for the first time watching The Green Inferno, wow, what a train wreck! Wow, like wow.
I've never had any affection for him as a director.
Hmm.
I don't. I didn't think Hostel is. I watched the first one and I was like, I don't need to see the second one because it's gonna be the same movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I watched Cabin Fever and was like, well, that was just a journey through characters that were unlikable, dying in horrible
Oh,
ways.
holy, yeah.
This is
I
what
you
they're
know,
gonna do. It's like
yeah.
he's got a vision where I feel like he thinks he's doing 70s movies, but they're missing something.
It's
They're like
he's like a Tarantino without the awareness or appreciation of what came before him. So he's recycling content in a way, but like thinking it's fresh and new when it's
yeah,
just like we've seen this all before
yeah.
for the most part. And also like and maybe the spokes when I first saw Cabin Fever, I was like around 18. So you know, still had, and it was like 2002, 2003. So I still had a lot of that kind of douchey, you know.
I do feel like he has a window in time where his
Yes,
movies play really well to that audience. And for me, I'm older, so I saw them a little later in life, and I was like, I'm just not
yeah.
that impressed with any of this.
No, like so like for me at 18, like Cabin Fever was, I like, okay, it was dialed in right to where I was. There was like, you know, like you still have that like kind of horny like oh vibe going. So there's all like the hot chicks and stuff. You got these broy dudes that are really alpha male douchey types, which I was totally locked into that setting at 18. Like, oh my God, like I cringe thinking about it now. But yeah, no, I could have easily at that time, like, oh, that's me on screen. I see that guy's me. And now watching it, it's just like, oh my God, like these are all unlikable people. Ryder Strong, who's kind of like your surrogate, has a weird rapey moment that like I had not really thought of it, but it's like, wait, this girl's like dying and all your friends are dying around you and you wanna get a little handsy with her now? Okay, buddy. I don't know if this is the right moment, but you do you. But yeah, and also just a really not to shit on Cabin Fever, because if you like that movie, I'm glad you like it, but I've had to have a reckoning with it. And like,
I think that happens though
yeah.
with movies.
Oh, for
I
sure.
think that happens where you like watch something and you're like, ugh,
Yeah. Yeah.
what did I really like about this?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's been a lot of movies for me like that, like where, yeah, you've gone back to them and it's just like, oh, this is not at all what I enjoyed about it. Or then there's also this flip side where you find a whole new appreciation for a movie on a level that you never had before. And
Audition for me, Audition falls in that category. The
up
first
or
time I
down?
saw Up, the first time I
Oh,
saw Audition, I was like, so is it just Japanese torture porn? And I think I went into it with already like knowing about some like two of the infamous scenes,
yes.
and I was already like, okay, the whole movie's going to be this. So I didn't give it a chance, and then probably like 4 years ago, I sit down with some friends and watched it again, and I was like, there's a lot going on here that I just kind of just was predispositioned to dislike this movie,
Hmm.
so I didn't even go in with any type of um, willingness to
Yeah.
see it beyond that, and
Yeah.
it's not that.
No, no, not at all. In fact, a more recent movie I'm kind of having this kind of a moment with is the newer Halloween. Like the first time I saw it, I was just like, "This is I don't know." Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, and I'll wave my hands when I'm done with the spoiler. So right here, beginning of spoilers, and when I wave my hands again, it'll be end of spoilers. Okay, so Michael Myers is not really in the movie that much at all, and it's just as a big Halloween fan, it's kind of a blow. All right, so
But I would say this. I mean,
but at
how
first
long
I
can you milk that
exactly.
cow?
Exactly.
You
So
know,
they bring in this other character that kind of becomes oh yeah. Da, 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 da. So yeah, they bring in this in fact, I'll just keep doing this, and when I'm done with this, spoilers will be over. So they bring in this new character named Corey, I believe, and actually, at first I was just like, this is a grown adult who is fighting children. This is strange. But then when you go back to the first one, that's what Michael Myers is. Um, at first I was like, this just doesn't work for me. But now watching it again, it's like, oh, you know what? They're trying to do something different. They're
yeah.
trying to pivot a little bit. They're bringing in, it's almost in a weird way, kind of a Christine remake in a sense of like, there's this evil, malevolent force that's turning this nice kid bad. And
I looked at it as like evil being something that is almost like an infection.
yes,
That
yeah.
that an event can give you that disease or infection or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you don't take proper care or have it cared for
Yeah.
or work through it, it can manifest itself in horrific ways.
Yeah, and also just in kind of rewatching that newer trilogy, like they really touch on that what you were just saying, like you really see that more now when you watch all those movies, just how the town, and they really hit
Yeah.
a good point on it in the beginning of Halloween Ends. Like this stuff, like all these traumatic events of that crazy Halloween night that happened a few years ago, where like Michael Myers came back and just destroyed the town. He really did destroy the town. The sense of community is dead. All these people feel this like sense of like hopelessness, and there's this looming dread. And like the fact that that concept of like an act of evil or many acts like seeping in and being in this infectious force on its own. It's actually kind of cool and interesting, and I've really
So
got a new appreciation for it. Yeah.
I will pivot to a movie, or I should say a TV movie that did the same in a winter setting, and that is Storm of the Century.
I was like, if he's going to say Storm of the thank you. Yes, that has been kind of in the zeitgeist a little bit lately too. I've noticed. Like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
saw somebody bring it up on a thing I was watching, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a really like another one that Cassandra really liked.
yeah. Yeah, and like I've just all of a sudden like it's been weird. Like in the last like 2 weeks, I've been seeing a lot of like on social media people being like, "You remember Storm of the Century and how awesome Colin Fior was in that?"
Yeah. Ooh.
Terrifying,
Give me what I want,
terrifying.
and I'll go away.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
To me, that also that story, that movie is possibly the most easily translatable into Dungeons and Dragons thing King has ever done.
yeah. No, you could. You really
Yeah,
could.
and
And it would be a good campaign.
yeah, and the ending, that idea of like how it falls apart in the town, like what happens is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And then even more so when we see the like 4 or 5 years later little montage.
Yeah.
Um, it's really, really well done. I do recommend it. I think it's if you're looking for something that, you know, like The Thing or, Darkest
Yeah.
Night, I think we've talked about was,
Mm-hmm.
that hits really well for that sense of isolation, like no one's
Yes.
coming to save you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's
You. Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, like, and just as like Minnesotan, you know that the cold, you know what it feels like, and that movie, like, or that it nails it. You feel these people, like, yeah.
Werewolves Within. Again,
Yes,
did you watch it?
yes, I love werewolves. That is one of my that I absolutely love that movie from top
Same
to bottom.
thing. So,
It's so
so
good.
what you're saying is we're gonna have a sleepover with
Yeah.
guns.
Oh, that is just a wonderful, it's like a bit of like Clue mixed with a little bit of Northern Exposure, and
I think I
yeah,
mentioned this before too because I watched it this year. It was Wolf of Snow Hollow as well. It's got that
that's really
winter,
good. Yeah.
and
uh
there's a lot going on in that flick too, which is
mhm.
But I think we've gotten two of the better werewolf flicks in the last couple years compared to, surprisingly enough, there's not, once you get past The Howling, and you get past American Werewolf in London, and I would even put, oh gosh, now it escaped me what it was. Wolfen in that category.
Oh yeah, Wolfen's really good. That's
Dog
unsung.
Soldiers, you start losing like the werewolf movies, especially more modern stuff. I think, if you want to go back and look at
Ooh,
the
I would also throw
Wolfman.
in for kind of exceptional tier werewolf movies, first Ginger Snaps.
Yeah,
I love
I
that.
love Ginger Snaps Back. I think that's my favorite.
That is cool too. Ginger Snaps Back is awesome. That's a great
Also
concept.
a wintry movie.
Yes, it is.
As is Ravenous.
I was gonna bring that up as a winter one. That is also like, that's just another beast, that whole movie. I'm in awe of that from almost every aspect of the movie. The cast is perfect all throughout. Everyone's doing their thing. Robert Carlyle is just swinging for the fences and is just having the most devilish fun in that role. The music is killer.
It's
And
strangely comedic at spots.
oh, it's so
It's like
funny.
dark,
So
blackest of black comedy.
yes. I can't remember where, I think Robert Carlyle's is Cannibal, and it's a kind of
It's like a Wendigo story.
yeah. And what would the time period be? Kind of.
It's post.
I think it's after the
Mexican American
War. Yeah. And so this guy who played by Guy Pearce, if you're not familiar with the movie, this guy played by Guy Pearce, he's a soldier. He survived this horrifying bloody battle by hiding basically under a mound of bodies, and all the blood of his buddies is like pooling into his mouth and stuff. And cut to the big celebratory dinner where all these people are cutting into raw steaks, and this guy he just can't eat meat anymore. He's turned off by it. It makes him revolted. Cut to him needing to become a cannibal to survive out in the wilderness, and the guy who's kind of trying to coax him into joining him in, let's both do this because it's going to give us power, because the Wendigo myth is a real thing in this world, where if you consume the flesh of another person, you gain their ability, you gain their power, you gain their strength, their spirit, in a sense. He's very much this Luciferian character who's like, come on, just join me, and he's having so much fun.
Yeah, I'm not. I use this analogy for Dungeons and Dragons all the time. If I'm ever utilizing like Asmodeus, why would he be threatening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he doesn't need to be. He should be like, hey, buddy, I'm here to help you. Let me help you.
Yeah.
You just have to do these little things.
Yeah,
and then you can have whatever you want.
Yeah, just like, if yeah, you're messed up now, but if you just took a slice out of this guy, you'd be good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, just a little step.
Yeah, and just if you let that hunger, if you nurture it, you'll be amazed what you can like. And just see where his like character, like Robert Carlyle, starts, where he's just this disheveled vagabond that they find, and then at the end, he's got his hair slicked back and he's wearing really refined clothes, and he's all like, ha ha ha, because it's just devilish fun and a wonderful winter setting. And there's this awesome game of cat and mouse is being played out, and it's such a good movie. It's
massively underrated, underwater.
Yeah, and yeah, like so underseen too. For when it came out, it was that it kind of hit in that late 90s period where like a movie like this could catch fire if it wanted to, and it just didn't for some reason. Yeah, and it's a shame, but I think it's
I don't think it was marketed very well.
No,
because I think a movie like that's really hard to market. What is it?
It's kind of a dark comedy cannibal period piece. It's just like, oh, I don't know. I'll go see The Matrix maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that is definitely one I'd put up there in a really good winter movie.
Do you have any others in that kind of winter setting?
Well, obviously, I'd go with Dead Snow. Right off the bat, that not only is it like it's another funny, hilarious movie, but yeah, you get so many bits of fun, wintry goodness in that one.
Very Evil Dead 2-esque.
Yes, it's very madcap and zany, and if I remember right, it has a downer ending, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one does.
Yes. Yeah. I haven't actually seen the second. I heard it wasn't on par, so I never went
It's
out to.
entertaining, but
Yeah.
it's definitely not. I think it lacks a lot of. It's kind of like I think the first movie was so visually oddly pretty and gory
Oh yeah.
that the second one you're like, okay, it's not as well done. It's not as and I mean, if you're gonna if the story is not great but it looks great,
Mhm.
I can be enraptured by it the first time, but the second time I'm gonna be like, okay, it's just more of the same.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna go watch something I haven't seen.
Yeah. No, I get that for sure. And just to go back towards like Christmas stuff, one movie I'd really like to talk about is, I think it's, hold on, let me look this back up to make sure I got the right title here. I think it's called A Christmas Horror. Yes, A Christmas Horror Story, starring William Shatner.
Not familiar. I think
Okay.
the only two Shatner horror movies I'm always aware of are Black Rain and was it Day of the Tarantula or
I
something?
think Kingdom of the Spiders.
King of the Spiders.
Yes. Yeah. No, so this is one. It's Shatner is kind of the framing device of the movie. He's a radio DJ who is kind of recounting all the stuff that's happening out in the world. And meanwhile, there's like a Santa Claus guy who finds out like he's got to like battle like Krampus and Krampus's minions and stuff like that. There's a really cool twist that I don't want to spoil in case anyone hasn't seen it, but it's
interesting.
It's kind of a B movie, but it really, really, really works. You know?
I mean, I think you can. I mean, I will say this. Like, I was talking to someone not too long ago about The Night Stalker.
Yeah.
And I was like, The Night Stalker is just a series of B movies. It's just that they're really fun, good B movies.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can do that and still like, I think be fun and be in some ways, you know, be artsy fartsy or whatever, if you can like get the audience to buy into the conceit. And I think, you know, The Night Stalker does that really, really well because I can't think of the actor's name all of a sudden, but Darren McGavin.
Yes.
Yeah, you want to. I mean, Darren McGavin is such a likable curmudgeon that you're like,
yeah,
hell yeah, I'm with you, you know, all the way until the very end. It's just fun. He's kind of a lech. He's kind of a shitbag.
Yeah.
But he's honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't believe in not being honest. So, you know, it's, I think that's, he draws you in right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Works as a great everyman.
Yes. Yes.
Because, I mean, he doesn't have the dashing good looks, and, you know.
He's a coward and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it works. You feel like he's like a real guy, just an average Joe who's in this stuff. Yeah.
I know we talked about last time, but to me, it also has one of the reasons I actually like Event Horizon. It's because Lawrence Fishburne comes off the same way.
Oh yeah.
We are leaving.
Yep.
Shuts it off.
We're leaving.
We're leaving. I mean, when you get characters that act in an intelligent fashion,
they do what you do.
Where
you're not yelling at the screen.
I can't think of the Roddy McDowall's character in Fright Night. Vincent. Peter Vincent, I love Peter Vincent. It's because he has this realization of, oh shit, like I'm gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the real deal. We know we are not doing this.
Yeah. Oh, and that oh man, that is one of the best like oh shit horror moments where he realizes in that split second, like, because he's like, oh yeah, I'll go along with you guys. Okay, Jerry, let's show these kids it's all a bunch of bullshit. Oh, look at my he's got no reflection. Yeah. it's just perfectly accurate.
I think there's and that's why I think we can have affection for a lot of these movies that may or may not be considered, you know, artsy fartsy, and why I can look at movies like Eli Roth stuff and go, that's not for me, because I don't have there's no character for me to make that connection with. At no point is any character the character I go, oh yep, that's my window in. So kind of bringing that discussion back full circle. I
Yeah.
think I think it depends on what you're watching the movie for too. If
Yeah.
you're just
Oh,
going in
definitely.
like a Hostel or some of those flicks that you're like, I just want to see someone get mangled, then you're getting what you want.
Oh,
Terrifier
yeah,
2, you're getting what you want.
definitely.
It's just that's not what I'm interested in.
Yeah,
So
sure. And the other day I was kind of having a discussion on like this little group I was in about like what is horror, like someone was bringing up Flowers in the Attic, like, is that horror? And I was
yep.
like, oh, absolutely. I was like, if it's a horrifying situation for you to be in real life, why would it not be horror across the board,
You and I had this discussion too. We were talking about Sword of Doom.
Yes.
I mean, I watched a thing on Sword. I haven't seen it yet. It's something I desperately want to see.
Yeah,
It's a samurai flick, but the main character is a bad guy samurai who's killed like
complete sociopath.
he's like, yeah, he's a beyond he in a American movie, he would be a slasher.
Oh yes, he's Samurai Jason basically.
Yeah.
He's just cutting through everybody.
But
And
one of the
it's kind
reasons
of
he has no honor, he fights in a style that everyone sees as, very like dishonest and gross. Like he feigns weakness a lot and then like just stabs people. Um I think I think that's horror. Like
yeah, oh yeah.
I think yeah, you could put the horror label on a lot of things. I think it was always interesting to see like in a modern setting how they've tried to wipe away
Oh,
some of that and call it
thrillers.
thriller or suspense. Like, come on now. I mean, did they really think that's what was going to keep Silence of the Lambs from winning an Oscar?
Oh yeah. No, Silence of the Lambs and Misery. Those aren't horror movies. They're
They're
thrillers.
psychological thrillers.
Yeah. It's like, no, I think the guy who's wearing people's faces is a horror movie as well as the woman.
He ate a dude.
Yeah. He ate a dude up, and this other guy is making clothes out of women. I think
Yeah,
this is a horror movie. Like,
come
but
on.
yeah, it's
He made another man swallow his own tongue.
yeah,
Come on.
it's yeah, like that's really funny how horror still is kind of a little bit. It's maybe just a step above porn in a lot of people's minds.
I
It's
hear
such a
like
dirty thing.
Mick Garris and some other people call it a ghetto. It's a Hollywood
Really?
ghetto. Horror is a ghetto, and you can choose to stay in the ghetto if you want, and you can get a lot of things done, and it's a good ghetto to live in. But the rest of mainstream Hollywood looks at it as like,
Yeah, they don't want to. Yeah.
that's why you see a lot. He said you see a lot of directors that they graduate out of horror.
Yes, I hate that.
Um,
Or
that's why I've enjoyed listening to Ari Aster talk about like, I maybe only have one more horror movie left in me. And it's not because I want to leave horror. It's because I only have one more horror story to tell. Like that doesn't bother me at all. It's when people are like, kind of ashamed of that.
yeah. Which is like it's so cool. Like when you've got like I don't know, say like a John Carpenter who's like he got into movies because he wanted to make a Western, found his niche in horror and never really left it because like just loved it and knew that he could do it well, and he became a master of it. Or Romero, there's all these like people, and you can even it's a shame
Carpenter Romero also made movies outside horror.
they did,
but they just kind of came back to it because it was like the movies didn't do great or they satisfied that artistic itch. So
yeah, and just to think about also like people who can get like stuck into that, like get trapped in the ghetto of it. There's so many phenomenal actors and actresses out there who just they get labeled like Tony Todd should have won an Oscar by now. Dee Wallace should have multiple Oscars by now. But they pick movies where they're fighting a giant dog or they cough out a ton of bees on people. And then people are like,
or they voice Scareglow on a cartoon, which I don't know if Scareglow ever appeared in the original
I don't think so.
Universe.
No,
but
he was just that special figure, wasn't he?
Yeah, Tony Todd, kills it as Scareglow in Revelation.
Tony Todd kills it in anything. I would watch that man read the phone book for real. Like
I watched Tales in the Hood 3 just because he was in it.
I have not done that yet, but I I might have to. I love that first Tales from the Hood, and
Tales from the Hood 1 is amazing.
that is
Tales
fun.
of the Hood 2 is okay because it's got Keith David in it
Ooh.
playing the same role
Oh,
as I can't think of the dude's name who played it in the first.
Clarence Williams,
Yeah,
right?
Clarence.
Yeah.
Clarence Williams kills that movie.
He is like, I love the stories in there. They're not anything groundbreaking, but he is so magnetic in that kind of like crypt keeper-esque role of that guy who's running the funeral home. He's just, you can't take your eyes off him whenever he's on the screen in that.
Also very good in Half Baked.
Samson, yeah.
I want to talk to Samson. Cuban B, yes. Yeah, I think that, you know, Tony Todd is an actor who definitely, if I know Tony Todd's going to be in something, it definitely commands my attention to want to see what it's going to be like.
Or even like
Keith
Robert
David's
Englund.
the same way. Yeah, Robert
Keith
Englund.
David, all these heavyweights of like, there's a reason that they have become these iconic roles, and you might not think like, oh, there's not much depth to a Freddy Krueger. He is such a goddamn good actor, though, that everyone loves Freddy Krueger. He's now he's almost a huggable, lovable plushie now.
Ask dude who played him in the remake. That's an easy gig.
Yeah. Oh,
because
Jackie Earle Haley is a great actor.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't. And that's why. Have you seen the little trailer for the fan flick?
No.
There's a Freddy fan flick coming out that's got the grown-up version of the kid in Freddy's New Nightmare.
Really?
And it's
is
all
it the
about
same
him.
actor?
Yeah, same actor.
No shit. Whoa. Okay.
And the guy they've got playing Freddy, A, looks like fucking Freddy, and B, sounds like Freddy.
Good.
So
good.
I mean, it's by the same production house that did the Never Hike Alone and Never Hike in the Snow.
And speaking of winter movie, that's ooh, yes. That, and also, yeah. Okay, I'll check. I'm excited for this.
You can see the trailers online. You can watch it. I can't remember the name of it.
That. But like, yeah, just to go back, Never Hike in that Jason fan-made movie in the snow. Brilliant idea. Like, it makes me think, why didn't they actually try to do that in the main franchises? Like, you've got A Nightmare on Elm Street, you got Friday the 13th. Set one of those during like a holiday or during a specific season.
Dylan's New Nightmare is what it's called.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah, dude. I'm definitely gonna check that trailer out. Like, I love New Nightmare. I think that is one of that's an unsung masterpiece of that might be Craven's best movie, to be honest. I love that movie.
I think it's really, really good. I think it also set the tone for what he was going to be doing.
Yeah.
Going forward, I think
it's got that meta narrative to it before, and like the kind of self-awareness before Scream. Everyone thinks of Scream as the thing.
Yeah, I mean, but he put himself. I put the link in the chat.
Oh, perfect.
But I mean, Craven put himself in.
That was a brilliant stroke. I thought
England's in that movie as all those actors in there as themselves.
That blew my mind.
How this is kind of affecting them is, I think, even more meta than Scream was.
Oh, totally.
I mean, Scream played with the genre. I think that film plays with the entire process itself.
Yeah, and also your perception of what is this reality of the film.
Yeah, what it actually is happening.
Yeah, and it's what it was. Yeah, I remember I saw that when it came out in the theater, so I was probably way too young, but I had one of those classic late 80s, early 90s dads that would be like, "You want to go see a rated R movie?" But yeah, like that blew my mind when I first saw it, because I was cognizant of who Robert Englund was and who Wes Craven was, and it's like, wait, this movie's saying that these are movies. This is in our reality, and then just the new design of Freddy, the new glove and everything.
Broke that kayfabe.
Oh, worked. They did break kayfabe, but it worked in the best way.
They were still real to me, brother.
It's the Attitude Era of Freddy movies. We're breaking kayfabe, and now everything's real. Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, it's and again, Do we have any other snow movies we want to touch upon?
You know what? I might be actually exhausted on like the snow and horror movies in general. Like I could go off onto like stuff that isn't necessarily horror, like Fat Man or Violent Night, but
Do you have any other like alternative media? Anything you've been watching lately, or reading that you want to kind of
oh yeah,
pump up?
uh, uh, reading wise, right now I'm going through Stephen King's newer book, Fairy Tale, which is actually really cool. Really
Does
cool.
it touch upon Dragon's Eye at all, or is
It is kind of yeah.
okay?
I'm not fully into it, but I get the sense it's if it's not exactly the same world, it's kind of got that Dark Tower effect going, where it's a mirror of that world that this our protagonist kind of goes into, and it's wonderful. I wish King would do more fantasy because he's got a real
Yeah,
knack for it. He
he really
does.
does. I mean, Dragon's Eye is great.
Oh yeah, that I I remember like the first time I picked that up and being shocked that it wasn't like an all-out horror, but it's a really fun pulpy fantasy novel, and it's got a real it has an 80s fantasy feel. I feel like I'm watching or I'm reading like Hawk the Slayer or something like that. It's good. It's
It
good.
especially when you're like, The Stand is my favorite all-time King book, and it was one of the first King books I ever read, which
Mm-hmm.
again, way too young to read that
Yeah.
tome.
Oh yeah.
But when you're like, oh, Randall Flagg is Flagg the Wizard, holy shit, it's the same guy.
And they're also just that's I that whole universe that King's created that all meshes together through the Dark Tower, the Stand, Salem's Lot,
His little
the Talisman.
mythos.
It's so brilliant, and I love it. I love it so much. I'm fully aware of any of the critiques you could give for Stephen King. You know, he's not the best with sticking an ending on his books, and some of his dialogue is very
I think that's debatable.
unwieldy. But I love him.
Yeah.
I maybe it's because I got into him at an early age, but King's my guy, and I dig his work. I really do. So yeah, reading that. Also been rereading just a little bit of like kind of isn't it part of that? Yes, it is a part of Spike. It is a part of that whole mythos as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
so is The Shining.
Shining.
It's interesting once you start
Yeah.
looking at all the stuff that King has found a way to tie together.
Mm-hmm.
Salem's Lot as well.
Insomnia. There's
Yeah.
kernels in Insomnia of
Characters
yeah.
get mentioned here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they just announced actually, I think Amazon's going to be taking on doing a Dark Tower series from Mike Flanagan,
Yeah.
the guy Midnight Mass, which is that's one of the best pieces of just media in general I've seen.
Midnight Mass is, you know what that is? It's that he wanted to. There's a King story he wanted to make. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's very Lovecraftian, and they couldn't get the rights to it. So he called King and said, I really want to do this story, and apparently we can't work the rights deal out. Would you be offended if I did this? And he ran the whole thing by King, and King was like, no, that's great. It's basically the story you're talking about, some Salem's Lot, but you put your own spin on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, King has never said a bad word about Flanagan. So I think he's pretty much got carte blanche to do any King stuff.
Oh, and he should. After I loved his adaptation of Doctor Sleep. That was such
Dr.
an
Sleep was
amazing,
fantastic. So good. It's one of my favorite King stories.
Of Kubrick's, I love Kubrick's take on The Shining. I think it's better than the book. But I also really like the book, and I love Doctor Sleep as a sequel. And yeah, Flanagan hit that part where to marry the awesomeness of that movie and bring in the elements of the book, and just he nailed
that movie should have been huge. And again,
it should have been. Oh,
I don't know, because it's great. Like that is a great movie. Ian McGregor is absolutely stunning in that movie.
I think her name's Sarah Ferguson, the actress who's the lead of
plays Abra. Yeah.
So chilling. So
Christine's great too, and that's a Carpenter flick, so you can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, I rewatched that last night. Christine still holds up. What a perfect movie. And it was just kind of pointed out to me that like Christine
Carrie's
itself
great.
is a wonderful character. That car,
Yeah.
like in the beginning where you're seeing it on the assembly line, you really get a sense that that's a lady and you need to respect that lady. Like all the guys
The
who are getting,
music changes
oh
in
yeah,
the inside the car, kind of telling that story as it
yeah, will you
goes.
be mine and all that. And oh, at the end when he's dying and I will always love you. It's just like, go for it. I love it. And
Yeah,
it's one of those, yeah. Go
there's
ahead. Yeah.
some really interesting stuff, like when you start digging into some of that, as well as even like we were just talking about Storm of the Century, some of those made for TV movies that they did off King stuff as
Oh,
well. You know, some of those movies that are more like B to C grade are really good. I think that you can do a lot of interesting stuff with that.
they put Christine in Lavalantula, Spike. Are you serious about that? That's hilarious. I
But
have
I
not
would say
seen Lavalantula.
Doctor Sleep is, I can't give it a higher recommendation. I love the
Yeah.
book, but the movie,
Mm-hmm.
I think, does, as you said, the movie takes the Shining by Kubrick and just is able to meld King's vision and Kubrick's vision into one.
Yeah. It's and a Sharknado. Jesus.
Oof.
Sharknado. That was a fun series for a bit. I'll give it that. I will say that. Yeah.
So, anything else you've been reading or
Um.
listening
So
to?
yeah. Reading wise, also been just because with my kids dipping back into scary stories and all that stuff. Those are all still wonderful books. The Scary Stories series. Um, Also been getting really into a lot of Joe Hill, Stephen King's son. He is a wonderful writer. A wonderful writer.
I think I always look at Joe Hill, Joe Lansdale, and China Melville being kind of this
Yeah,
Ghidra, the three-headed monster of kind of that weird modern horror where they're able
yeah,
to do kind of a little bit of everything.
yeah. They really can. And what else? Video game wise, been playing this on the horror front. There's this one game called Cult of the Lamb, where you're a little baby lamb and you start a
Very
cult. And
familiar with this
oh my
game.
God, is it fun? It is addicting, and oh, I care about my little cultists. It's so fun.
I for a while was playing Honey I Joined a Cult,
What I have not heard of that.
which is like a cult simulator. Like you are building your cult up. It's like
Ooh.
got a very 70s aesthetic. You have to recruit people, you have to send them out on missions, but you have to also buy stuff to continue to build your cult complex to deal with the cops.
No,
It's really good. It is really fucked up though.
I gotta check that out.
It's well. I think I got it when it was on sale. It's well worth it.
Okay.
It's I was pulling up my Steam library to see
Yeah.
if it had the how much it was or what its score was even. Because I haven't played it for a while. Come on. There it is. Honey, I Joined a Cult. It doesn't have the cost up on it. I mean, I probably could go to its page, but I think I've got like 6 hours in on this game.
Okay.
It's definitely fun.
Yeah. My computer is so old and ancient. I realized like I was gonna get a whole new GP, graphics thing, everything for it.
It's not a game that pushes graphics. It's like
Okay.
little dudes moving around.
But like even still, like Project Zomboid, like I wasn't able to run that, so I have to. I'm still.
What, for real?
This computer is like from like 2010 that I'm on right now. It's so old. It's insane. Like I remember, like I got it
14
for Diablo 3, and it's yeah. That's how old.
1473 is what it costs on Steam right now.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, so but like in a week
With
or so I should
mixed
have
results.
an upgraded thing so we could totally dive into Project Zomboid because I've been dying to get my hands on that. I've just been watching video after video of that, like
Zomboid's
trying to
so
hone
good.
my strategy in my head before we start.
That's the thing with Zomboid though, because that's what I've been playing. Oh god, hey guys, hey, oh no, Rick, what are we gonna do? Zomboid, you can be as prepared as you want to be.
Yeah,
The other day I had somebody I was very like, this guy's really doing well. I mean, I don't have to worry about him at all. Opened a door, wasn't worried about it, all armored up, got scratched and died.
Yeah, yeah. I was watching this one guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got everything needed. I'm ready. This is going to be the most epic run. Come along with me." Heads out. He's like, "See, this is what you want to do if you want to get the hordes. You know, you can just run around them." He took the wrong turn, ran right into this. He was like, "No, no!" You just watched him lose everything.
That game is so brutal.
It's
It's so brutal.
but it looks so immersive
It
and so
is.
charming. Like
I just started learning how to fish in this game. I've never fished before.
I didn't know you
And
could.
yeah, you can spearfish, and if you find a rod and reel and stuff. Um yeah, I just leveled up cooking with this current dude.
Ooh.
I'm working on. I found a appliance store that
Yeah.
I'd cleared out the area. Like I cleared the grocery store out underneath it, and now I'm going to go up there with some propane torches and all my stuff, and I'm just going to take apart every goddamn appliance in there to level up my metalworking and electrical, so I can
Ooh.
start making some interesting stuff.
I love
I
it.
also
Yeah.
started just hunting for the first time. I found a 4-story like apartment complex, and I got it to the top, and I knocked the stairwells out underneath so nothing could come up.
Yeah.
And I put rope ladders all around it. So I go up there and I put my stick traps for birds.
Uh-huh.
And I come back every couple days and just get as many birds as I catch.
Oh, I had no idea it even had that hunting mechanic to it
Yep.
because I've only ever seen people like scrounging and like doing like salvage runs and things.
In the winter, especially if you are farming, because I do a lot of farming in that game,
Yeah.
your crops slow down. So you start to realize like I don't want to exhaust my canned goods either. So like I've also figured out, now I've figured out how to make. I use like some of my cabbages I grow and carrots, and I use box traps for rabbits, because rabbits are where it's at.
Rabbits.
But what I've also found out here in is current games I've been playing, I'm all the way into like mid-December with multiple characters because they've
Yeah.
died repetitively, is I took smoking as a thing, and now I'm starting to run out of lighters and matches.
Oh no. Oh no.
Luckily, I put the power on for a whole year, so the power hasn't died yet. But if the power was gone, I'd be dead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Although I haven't tried the deal to make the little. You can make the drill board, so you can start fires with the drill board. You just need a plank for
Oh,
it. I just have
that's
never done it.
genius.
Yeah. So yeah, the game's got everything. It's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you put mods in and even more so. It's just
No, some of those
nuts.
mods you sent me stuff of, it's just like, oh wow, okay, here we go.
But I
Whole new
also picked
level.
up World of Horror, which is like a Junji Ito style game. Like
I don't know about that.
it was like between 13 and $10.
Okay.
Scarlet Hollow, which is kind
Hmm.
of Darkwood. A couple weekends ago, we played Inside the Back Room. Some of us,
Okay.
it's janky as hell, but if you like Phasmophobia and
Yeah.
Sasquatch and stuff like that, those types of games, it's pretty fun.
Cool, cool.
So I picked up a bunch of cheap horror games
Yeah.
here lately. Sunless Sea, I can't recommend enough. I haven't played Under Rail, but for those of you tune in on Fridays
Yeah.
for Bad at Games, it's got that death trash aesthetic to it, and kind of that super old school. Um, oh gosh, what's the game? Fallout
Yeah.
style, like original Fallout style games.
Yes, the top down. Yep.
Top down, yeah. Under Rail is in the same kind of
Okay.
vibe as Death Trash is. Death Trash is amazing. I also picked up Space Wreck, which is also in that same kind of vein of top down
Okay.
exploration, role playing type game. So yeah, I recommend all those games.
Yeah.
I finished Terror Tome.
Oh, yeah.
Terror
It
Tome is
was
awesome.
wonderful. Yeah.
I wanted to point out that you had kind of got me very interested in watching Stalker. So I watched Stalker,
Yes.
and now I'm doing the audiobook of Roadside Picnic, which is
Ooh.
what Stalker's based on.
Yeah. Yeah. What'd you think of Stalker?
It's extremely pretty.
Yes.
The fact that it kind of does the Wizard of Oz black and white to color thing to you, in kind of a very similar vein, actually. There definitely, it's not for people who A, don't want to read subtitles, and B, don't understand it's a 2 hour,
It's
45-minute long video
yeah.
movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's rewards you for your patience.
Yes, it's definitely a slow burn, and it's a what I'd call a talker. It's a
No.
lot of conversation, but
And,
it's good conversation, I'd say.
and there are shots in that movie where it's like it's just allowed to breathe, like the camera moving through the
Yes, yeah,
landscape.
and the
Oh,
landscape is haunting. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's you know, communist era Soviet Union. I mean,
mhm.
and it is definitely a stark existence.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
you add into like what's actually going on in this world as far as with, the zones, and you're just
yeah,
like, holy shit. It's
yeah.
excellent. And the
It
book
is.
is tremendous.
Yeah, I have not. I have to get my hands on that
I
and
just got
flip
the
that.
audio book for it. And I
Okay.
would say the ending of the movie
Yeah.
was, man, see, if you did that in a modern movie, you'd be putting out a sequel in 6 months.
Oh, you'd have to, and people would be demanding it.
But the
And
way
yeah.
it ends in that movie is like, I don't want anything to touch
Mhm.
that, like, because it was so perfect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It ends. Yeah. For for all the themes of that movie, the way it ends, it's a perfect ending. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Um, two more games I would throw on the list of games I've been doing. One is kind of a fun Castlevania throwback. That's called Vampire Survivors.
Yeah,
And if you just want to go and just take out a bunch of monsters, it's a
it's kind of like
darn good time.
Asteroids.
Yeah, yeah, It's just you're using one stick and just aiming in that kind of way, and sometimes you're not even aiming,
I
but
would say if
it's
you want a
just
good vampire game, it's V Rising though.
ooh, okay, yeah, yeah,
V
yeah.
Rising is outstanding. I have sunk a lot of hours into that game.
And then another, what's the name of it? It's part of this Deadly Pictures game series. I think that's what it's called, Deadly Pictures.
I think I know what you're talking
The
about.
Devil in Me is the
Yeah.
new one. Yes, very fun. It's from the same people who've made I think it was called Until Dawn, and then another new one from them was called The Quarry. They do these excellent
Cinematic
motion.
games.
Yes, yes, they're playable movies basically, but they're great and excellent actors that they attract to these projects as well.
Excellent writing in those movies.
Yeah,
Or those games. God, I can't talk tonight.
yeah, no.
So I've got 2 comics that I want to talk about.
Oh, yes, definitely.
First of all, I want to say I reread the entire Immortal Hulk run.
It's superb.
It's just real good body horror.
It is.
And I love the ending. I
Yeah.
love the ending. It's very, very, very good. And last year for Christmas, my wife got me the first Nocturnals omnibus.
Oh, yeah,
And this year
yeah.
she got me the second one. And if you like kitschy, like 60s, 70s, but with a 50s aesthetic, monsters doing monstery things, Nocturnals is so good. And the Dan Brereton art is just so outstanding.
Mhm.
I also would recommend Dan Brereton's Batman Elseworlds Thrill Kill. Those are like Thrill Kill 67 and Thrill Kill 69. I think are the 2 that he did. But it's the same art style. It's that kind of lushly painted, harsh line stuff that he does. But Nocturnals is so good. It's so good. It's just kind of a mishmash of all the things I like in horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one comic I'd throw up there that I recently got my hands on. I think it's a little older now. Or not too much older, maybe like 1 or 2 years. Is Soul Plumber. It's written by the guys who do the Last Podcast on the Left podcast.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, if you love cryptids and ooey gooey grossness, it's a good time. Chock full of monsters. You got kind of a grungy Jack Brooks monster slayer protagonist kind of dude, and it's a fun time. It's a really fun pulpy time. So yeah, I'd say get your hands on that if you can. Yeah.
So what are we gonna do next time, Crypty Colin? What do you want to do?
Crypty Colin is thinking.
Oh, can you smell what Crypty Colin is cooking?
Do you smell what the Crypty Colin is cooking? Corpses. cooking corpses. I'm
Slow cut.
thinking, I don't know, we had touched on doing like of going over just like our favorite studios and things like that. I think maybe we should do that for January, possibly, if not, and maybe come up with something else to go over. But yeah, I'd love to talk about Hammer Horror. I'd love to talk about Full Moon and Empire.
In cross.
Uh,
You know what? Let's narrow it down. Let's just talk about like 1 to 2 studios at a
yeah.
time.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of wrap up like we have been, where we talk about like what we're watching
Yeah.
and doing.
Then let's do. I'd love to do
I
Hammer.
was gonna say Hammer and Amicus, because I think
okay.
you kind of got to talk about Amicus if you're talking about Hammer, because Amicus is like Hammer's smaller, weaker brother.
Yeah. No. Oh yeah. No. The weaker brother.
And I think we could even put the one flick the Charlemagne production did, which was Christopher Lee's production company that he and Cushing did together.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Definitely. Then let's
because it's it's those guys. So
yeah. Oh yeah. They are. When I think of Hammer Horror, boom, boom. It's those two for sure. Easy. Yeah. Then let's delve into, because oh man, there's so many good. Just thinking of all the Dracula stuff in there. This is going to be good. Yes. So yeah, Hammer Horror for sure.
Hammer and Amicus.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Anything you want to go out on? Anything you got going on? You want to tell the fine peoples about?
I've got a few things simmering at the moment, but for now, you can find me around here. Doing stuff on this channel for sure, and we should be, if any of you had followed our Tales from the Loop game that we were doing, we should have the capper for that coming out this coming January. I think we're all going to be able to get together to finish that off.
Yeah, Beard's gotten really busy.
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, hopefully whenever my computer's up and running, I'll be joining you for some Bad at Games. And yeah, I've got a children's book kind of thing I'm working on.
Thank you, Mitch.
And yeah, as I'm getting closer to that, I'll let the people know when they can maybe look for that once that gets closer to being a reality. But yeah, that's something I'm working on. Otherwise, yeah, catch me out around here on Known World United, and yeah.
So
yeah.
I got Bad at Games tomorrow night. I'm off tomorrow, so I'm like, we're gonna be real hard to get motivated to come sit in front of the computer. But I think we're gonna be crafting kids tomorrow.
Ooh, now, can we do cross-platform? I know that's a possibility with it, but
I think so. I'm not sure. I don't know much. That's a Beard question, I think.
Okay, because I might be able to join you guys then, because I've got it for my Series X and everything, and I know I can run it flawlessly. And it might be beefy enough where I could be able to jump in with you guys. So I'll try to figure that out if we can.
I mean, you're making it sound like I got a hot rig.
Oh yeah, I got this. I don't know if I got enough under my hood to compete with you, boy, but I'm gonna give it a shot.
And then Sunday, I don't remember what was the date on Sunday. Sunday might be my anniversary.
31st.
Is Sunday the 31st?
No, wait.
Sunday's the 1st.
First, yeah.
Yeah, it's my anniversary. So no prep school. Monday though, gosh, I have to look at my calendar because I've got us all twisted around here.
Yes, I do. I'm one of those fools who actually pre-ordered Shredder's Revenge Shaggy. Fantastic game. I love that game to death. Also, if you love Shredder's Revenge, go check out, Konami did a wonderful package of all the old school Turtles games repackaged together, including all the fighters and stuff like that. It's a good time. It's a really good time.
Good call, Shaggy. Monday would be Down Mountains. So.
Oh yeah, all right.
So yeah, Down Mountains might get kind of weird here for off and on, which I'm hoping to do some like little mini series things associated with it. For those of you who wanted to get to see where ACO's whole business goes, we're gonna do like a thing off of that. We're on Java, Mitch. Bedrock's crossplay.
Okay.
Of course it is. Yeah, we're Java boys.
Alrighty.
And gals and non-binary folk. So Yeah, that'll be tomorrow. And then, like I said, down Outlands, got some little mini series things cooking. And in the new year, I'll have some more 3-part things going on
Nice.
that won't be D&D. Actually, just got a game coming in this weekend. It's a small game called Wendigo, and I'm very intrigued.
Ooh.
It's a small horror game where you play in a Canadian wilderness. So
Ooh.
it's a very like one of those small pamphlet games. I think the game was like $7.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I'll support. I'll support a game like that. I'll actually, you know. So that's where I'm at. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow night. And Colin and I will see you together. Form as horror folks. In a month.
Form of a bloody knife.
Form of corpse in a crock pot.
Yeah,
All right.
crockpot corpses, and I'll try to figure out a recipe for that.
Crockpot Corpses would have been like my Misfits cover band in middle school.
Oh, that's a great band name. That's actually yeah, dude. I love it.
Bye.
All right, bye everybody. Have a good one. Thanks for